Though it's called a lame duck session, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle returning to Washington today with a lot of important decisions on their plate. But are they going to be able to get anything done? With me now is Republican Congressman Devin Nunes from California. Welcome, Congressman. Good to see you.
Well, thanks, Gerri. I've been around the Capitol today, and, you need to understand that 25% of the members that are going to be involved in this lame duck Congress are kind of dead men walking, and the joke around the Capitol is we're calling it the zombie Congress, not the lame duck.
That doesn't sound good. Let's look at a few of the things that you've got on your plate here. Bush tax cuts, that's my #1 thing, the tax cuts. Government funding, you've got to do something with that $1 trillion budget bill, keep the government running. Unemployment benefits for folks who are losing them. And, of course, the party leadership. Now, tell me, how likely is it that you're going to get to job #1, the tax cuts? I'm really worried about that.
Well, let's look at the facts on the ground right now. As you've had Nancy Pelosi, who's done one interview. She's the speaker, and she's a speaker until January. I've only seen one public interview that she's done. She's wrapped up in her own political fight where they're trying to decide on who's going to be in the leadership in the Democratic Congress, or for the Democrats' next Congress. So she, as far as I know, has not really talked to John Boehner. So we don't, as Republicans, we don't know what's going on, and we're very concerned because, as you know, to just let these expire is not just wrong, it's flat out, I think, irresponsible.
Well, can you imagine the hue and the cry you're going to have on January 1st? I mean, what is the party prepared to do? What are you prepared to do to get this on the agenda?
Well, if the Democrats do not act before January 5th, when there's a new speaker, we will move quickly to make permanent all the tax cuts. However, that does not solve the bigger pictures for the country, where you have people making, not just businesses, but individuals making life-changing decisions right now in terms of their finances. And so, I'm hearing from constituents almost every day about the death tax, whether or not the death tax is going to come back in full next year. I'm hearing about, should they pay capital gains on some of the properties and stocks that they're selling. These are the types of questions that I'm getting asked as a member of Congress. And quite frankly, it would be nice. I don't mean to just sit here and blame Speaker Pelosi, but she does have another job to do other than just remain the Democratic leader.
Well, yeah, you can also talk about the AMT, because there needs to be a patch on the AMT at the very least, alternative minimum tax, which, is going to hit some 30 million Americans if you guys don't get up and do something. It's not...
I should say this, Gerri, just so this is a rumor out there, but I heard over the weekend that Chuck Schumer, who is one of the prominent Democrats on the Senate side, who basically said that what they ought to be looking at, and I'm paraphrasing here, but that they would make the tax cuts permanent for anyone under $1 million, which is a big change from where Obama was on the $250,000, where anybody under $250,000 didn't get their taxes raised. Now Schumer's saying $1 million. I don't know what that means, but I do know that he's an important player on the Senate side. He will be probably second command to Harry Reid. And so what we have to look at now is has Chuck Schumer been talking to Nancy Pelosi? We don't know.
Well, it does seem like there's wiggle room on the side of the Democrats, even the White House floating balloons about, possible changes. I've got to talk to you about something else, though, today that's getting some play.
Okay.
And also very controversial, and that's Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke's plan to stimulate the economy with $600 billion. Now, there was a big group of Republicans and economists sending a letter to the chairman saying, we think this is a bad idea, this isn't going to help the economy, and it's certainly not going to help employment. Where do you stand on that?
Well, these are the same people that the Fed worked with Henry Paulson when Henry Paulson was the Treasury Secretary, that brought us TARP. Which then TARP was then converted into basically the Wall Street bailouts. And, look, I don't think the policy worked the first time. First of all, they didn't tell us what was really going to happen the first time when we passed the Wall Street bailouts. Now they're coming back talking about printing money. I just think it's a good time to just stop. Just stop printing money. Let's face the facts that we've got to cut government spending. And that's what the Republicans next year are prepared to do in Congress. But this is not a good idea. I don't try to fancy myself as an expert on international monetary policy. But just from a farmer from California, I just can't see how this is not just more of the same, and how this would be anything but bad for our economy.
Well, we have you on the record now. You're going to cut I heard that. You're on the record. We'll come back and talk to you about that as you do that. And we'll certainly be watching the zombie Congress. Congressman, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Gerri.
Coming up, the congressman says things are going to be different now that the Republicans have control of the House, but will they get trapped back into old bad behaviors like earmarks? I'll break it down next on the Willis Report.